Okay. You're all set. Do you need anything else from me or?
No, I think we're good. Thank you so much, Pablo.
Okay. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.
Hey, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening, all. And thank you all for joining. We're just going to give folks a couple more minutes, but out of respect for time, we'll shoot to start about 7:35. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started out of respect for time. So, the first thing on the agenda is introductions. Is there anyone who it's their first meeting and they would like to introduce themselves? I see a lot of familiar faces, but okay. Then the second item is approval of the March minutes. Is there any discussion? Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Oh my, I'm gonna mess up your name. Please say it for me, Ms. Dow.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Yes, my name is Alina Dow. I'm the Bronx Borough Director for the Mayor's Community Affairs Unit. I just wanted to stop in, introduce myself and say hello. I'm here if there's any concerns or you guys would like to share anything with me.
Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I do appreciate your time and your presence. We're a pretty open committee here, so feel free to chime in as you see fit.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there any discussion of the February 2022 minutes? Any corrections or anything? Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second, or do I need a second? Okay. Is there any opposition to approving the minutes from February? All right, then, deem the minutes from February approved. Thank you so much. The next thing, the chair's report, which is really just a giant thank you to everyone who participated in our March resource fair networking event. I had a really good time. It was great getting to know everybody a little bit better. It was nice that we were able to keep it a little bit informal and not, stand on ceremony. So I just want to thank all of you for either coming or sending a colleague and spreading the word. This works better when everybody participates, and I really can't do any of it on my own. So I appreciate everyone deeply. I think that's my entire report. I do want to move. It looks like there was an error in the emailed version, at least, of the agenda, or an oversight on my part. These days, it's about a 50-50. I thought I put on there a discussion of the budget priorities. They are kind of due now. Is there any objection to me amending the agenda and inserting the budget priorities as the next item? Okay. I'm going to take the silence as assent, and we will move forward with the budget priorities. So for those of you who have not gone through this before, and I'm going to count on the other community board members to keep me honest because it gets a little murky. We are making budget requests right now for fiscal year 23-24, which starts next July 1st. I did have a meeting with Alexander from DYCD on another issue, and he did ask me to remind everyone that DYCD does not have funds for capital expenses, only for, oh man, the word just left my head. I can't remember it. Sergio, do you know the term? Speaking of not capital, what's the other one?
There's capital and operating.
Operating. I think they don't have, and I get the terms confused, and this is my third time doing it. They don't have money for like building buildings. They have money for like expanding programs. So they said every year a couple community boards put in a request for like a new, after school building, and that's not something that DYCD can fund. So they asked to keep that in mind. And I So I know we've talked about a couple things. I do kind of want to open the floor for ideas about budget requests and discussion about what we should be advocating for. Again, for those of you that this is your first time, these are just requests. It's not necessarily that, you know, it's not a resolution. It's not a demand. We let the different agencies that we work with know what we think the priorities are in our community board for funding, and we advocate for those. So it's like, and it's for next July. So like last year, we had some discussion about like a remote option for SYEP, and we had to kind of dial it back because it wasn't going to go into effect for that summer. It's the following summer, if that makes sense. So I'm going to take a step back and open the floor for discussion on budget priorities.
What was it we put in last year? Do we have that?
I can pull it up if you'll give me a moment. And if my computer cooperates, that's the always the other half that's not as and of course, because I'm in a meeting, my phone decides everybody wants to talk to me, so I apologize for the background noise. Okay, so for the expense budget, we asked for increased funding for conflict resolution. Mental health counseling and transportation for special needs students to after school programs. Oh wait, hold on. That might have been 2 years ago. Yeah, that was 2 years ago. I apologize. Last year for fiscal year 2023, we made the requests of boosting existing Wi-Fi signals, technological support assessment, expanding college access for all, increasing funding for certificate programs, and the expansion of SYEP for 14 and 15-year-olds that they receive additional hours and stipends. Those were our requests from last year.
Did we get any of those, Madam Chair?
I do not believe so. So I guess for the providers on the call, are these still things that, like, should we just roll them over? Are these things, that's not uncommon either, that we ask again to show that we really feel it's a need? Do you guys think, you know, that these are still things that we should be advocating?
Madam Chair, were there any big differences in terms of like the requests from the previous year to, I'm sorry, from 2 years ago to now?
Yes, we changed all of our requests over the last 2 years, and I'll ask Mr. Villaverde to keep me honest. I'm not sure before that the youth committee had put in any requests to my knowledge since I've
I
been
don't
on the
think-
board.
I don't think that we had put in requests before, so that would be, this would be it. So if we haven't gotten it, perhaps we could just roll those over.
Excuse me, Madam Chair. What about job training for like digital type of jobs? Like I know we were talking about the stipends for the young SYPs, but I think over the last year I realized maybe the generation who either are like finishing college or finished college and are in that in between stage need maybe some training and jobs that are more digital based that they might not have gotten while they were in school. Maybe something like that, those type of trainings.
Do we know who in the city would do that?
Yeah, I don't off the top of my head. Most of the time we make requests from, like, the request we made last year either went to Do It, which is the Department of Information Technology, and there's an I always forget, DYCD, which is Department of Youth and Children and Community Development, and the Department of Education. Like when we make these requests, we have to have a city agency to request it from. Do you have any ideas who would that be what DICD, or is there someone who takes over after that? Is it like, anyone have any ideas? I really don't.
Is there anybody who's doing it now that we know of? I guess is the first question.
Not to my knowledge. Is there anyone on the call whose agency is doing it?
Because if there's a not-for-profit or an agency in the board that's doing it now, we could find out where they get funded from to do that kind of very specific training. But it is important training. It's just a question of finding the agency.
Okay, so what we could do is we could decide tonight that that's something we want to list, and then, you know, submit it and have the board office tell us like that's not something, you know, have it be peeled off later.
Okay.
Or have the board office help us figure out.
It's important training, so I would move that we resubmit the previous request and include the request for the for the specific. What was the wording of it?
I was just thinking like more like digital based jobs, like you know, even though people are going back in, there's a lot of, you know, from home jobs that just like basic training, like even how to operate the phone system and customer service wise, or even knowledge of what jobs those are. I think a lot of people would benefit from in our communities.
So what I'll do is I will put it as youth, we'll request it from DYCD. And then I'll ask Kiara to confirm that that's the appropriate agency. Or Kiara, I don't know why I do that, I'm so sorry. And then, so there's two things. We can make it its own, or we can add it to the previously existing increase for funding for certificate programs to include job-specific training or technology job-specific training or something to that effect, which feels more in line with.
Yes, I agree, Madam Chair. We could modify.
Which to add it to
We
the
could
certificate?
we could modify the existing one to add the language to include digital based training.
Okay. I made a note in there. I'll clean up the language a little later and send it around. We also had a request from public safety to co-sponsor some budget requests that I wanted to run by the group. One was to ask for funding for a police athletic league after-school programs and youth crime prevention services. And that would be a joint request from public safety, youth, and education. And then a second request from public safety, youth, and education for additional school safety officers at John F. Kennedy High School. I see no issue with that, but I didn't want to make the decision without giving it space for discussion. Is there any concerns or opposition to?
Seems great.
Yeah, no opposition. I mean, I think the community could definitely benefit from a police athletic league, especially, you know, assisting the education district with after school activities and after school programs, especially as they, you know, relate to homework help and you know, assisting the 50th precinct with their youth coordination officers and their community affairs, which Alina Dow, I don't know if you want to chime in as well, you know, since you work for the mayor's office in the community affairs aspect.
I'm sorry, can you hear me? Hello?
Yep, yeah, we can. Yep.
Yes, so I'm not actually sure right now of what the programs are gonna have. I know that the most recent thing they've talked about is employing the youth for the summer. So I will have to get back to you with and as far as with the after school or any summer programs that they're looking into. And that's just for the 50th precinct, right?
Yeah, that's precinct specific.
Correct. Yes.
Yes, I'll find out and get back to you.
Great.
All right, so I'll let the chair of public safety know that we are in favor of co-sponsoring those requests. The only request that is looking at last year's, we are still, the two that were a little more COVID specific, I just want to make sure, it's our technology divide, which I think is going to be harder to get, because DoIT is not as responsive. I actually haven't spoken to anyone from DoIT yet, but it was boosting Wi-Fi signals by requesting boosters for police departments, fire departments, libraries, etc., to try to create a wider net of free internet. And then also requesting a technological support assessment that we'd be given person power to actually assess the technology needs, access issues, device issues, connectivity issues within Community Board 8. Those are still things we want to endorse, correct?
Yes, I don't see.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't see no problem.
Again, I just want to make sure I'm not assuming things. I'm not sure how likely they are to be approved, but I don't think it hurts to ask. I think they're good things in theory. So are there any additional budget items, or can we bring this section of the meeting to a close? Okay. For community board committee members, I will send around the document with the final wording and such, just so you have it in front of you before I send it over to David Gelman, who's our budget chair, just to make sure I haven't misunderstood or misrepresented anything, since we do have to have quite a quick turnaround, since we should have done this last month, but we had our wonderful fair and I'm okay with that. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Okay. Next is our committee priorities. Again, the digital divide, I think we may need to regroup on this. We all think it's a great idea, and I'm just trying to conceptualize, is there more we could be doing in addition to the budget requests to really address the digital divide that the pandemic really shone a very harsh light on? I don't know. If anyone thinks of anything, you can tell me now. You can tell me, send me an email to bring it up next meeting. You can, I think it's really important that we make sure the youth and community board 8 are technology savvy, that they have access to these things, that they know how to use them, that they are confident using them across the entire board. So
Maybe for Alina's instruction, I don't know if she was here that back then. We had previously voted on a resolution, as well as making a budget priority to increase the access to the internet throughout the community board, through all parts, so that people of it seemed to be disparate by income, as some things are. So that's what we're discussing now. I know that the mayor has also made note that is an issue. So that's continuing to be one of our requests.
Yes, so actually, I just started 3 weeks ago. I'm newly appointed, but I am very aware of the digital divide. I know that is something that the new administration is working on. I'm going to actually put my contact information in the link. So anything that you guys want me to look further into, you'll be able to just email me and I'll make sure to follow up, and then I'll know who to reply back to.
we actually don't have chat in this.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
Now, I can give you my email, or you can email the board office, whichever you find more convenient.
Yeah, you can give me your email right now and then I'll forward it to you, and then you can share it with everyone that's on.
It's Julia Go, JULIAGO.
I'm sorry, hold on. It's JU.
LIAGO. The number's 921 @yahoo.com.
Okay, great. I'm going to send you an email now with my contact information, and then you can share it with all of your committee members.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. So next is the forum, the special prosecutor forum. Sergio, is there any update?
There's no update, but with the new changes in legislation, that's going to be, it may be difficult to do this cycle, but I will keep us posted for next meeting for sure. It doesn't look like this before June that it's going to happen though.
Okay. And then the Comeback Kid Award. I believe the board office has asked us to kind of shift our timeline to sync more with the Irving Latimer Community Service Award, as well as the Most Valuable Merchant Award for the Economic Development Committee. While it's not ideal, I think it makes a certain amount of sense. Is there anyone who's already submitted? It will be set, it will still be under consideration. It just will probably be awarded a little later. Any concerns about that, honoring that request?
No.
Okay. Look at us moving right along. I have one piece of new business, but does anybody else have new business before I continue to with my monologue here? Okay, so phase 2 of our wonderful resource fair, I would like to put together a resource guide. Most of the other committees have one, Parks has one, I think Library, Education and Cultural Affairs had one, or they may have multiple because they used to be different committees. I believe that Health, Hospitals and Social Services. It would not, I can send around some samples with next month's agenda and minutes and everything. It doesn't have to be a huge undertaking. It doesn't have to be every detail of every service, but it would be reaching out and trying to collect information so that when we are at tabling events, when we are at, when you're doing your work, you could pick up and someone's like, hey, we need conflict resolution or conflict mediation. And you're like, we don't do that, but hold on. And you can go to your resource guide and say, you know what? Kingsbridge Heights does. Let me reach out to Margaret and let's see if we can make a connection. That was my thought. I have been known to be a little out there, so please feel free to tell me if you think this is too much too soon, if I should be waiting, if you don't know if there's enough interest to warrant a whole resource guide. What are people thinking?
I think we start small and we expand from there. I mean, people can voluntarily give their information and what they do, and it's going to be mostly digital, so it'll be a good, it'll have the opportunity to grow.
I agree.
Okay. So I can start working on that with the board office in the background. And then I guess the other thing is just, do we want our resource fair to be an annual event? If so, does March seem right? Should it happen more like in September?
March seems right for the calendar because it gives us time during the year to set it up. September is the beginning of the board year.
Yeah. I mean, it's great for us. I just wanted to make sure it's also useful for the organizations and providers on the call. Because September might be overly ambitious, but maybe we could do something for October, November, which is still earlier in the year, and but again, I'm not actually doing the work anymore. So if you guys, what are I don't actually need to make more work for myself, even though I'm really good at it.
No, I think the month is okay. And then once everyone gets used to that month being that way, it'll be like an annual thing. Everybody gets sets up and gets ready. So I think the month is fine.
Okay. Any other thoughts? All right, any other new business? Any old business, anything I've forgotten about, said I would follow up on that I haven't, said we would circle back to that we haven't yet? All right then, any closing comments, thoughts, words of wisdom, funny anecdotes?
I do have a question. I just thought about something. What about the Yankee Award? Is that still happening?
It is, they were already submitted.
Yeah.
We are waiting to hear back. As far as I know, we haven't heard back from the Yankees and who they selected. I believe this year we got 6 applicants. We reached out to the Yankees because we're really only supposed to submit 5, but they allowed us to submit all 6. So we have our fingers crossed that everyone will be selected.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? All right, well, in that
Move to
case, I'll hang around. Yeah, I'll hang around in case someone has something just for me, but otherwise, thank you so much as always for giving me some of your time tonight. I really appreciate it. Have a
Thank
wonderful evening, be safe, and see you next month.
Thank you.
Have a great night, everybody. Thank
Thank you
you.
guys. Have a good night. Good night, guys.
Everybody.
Good night.
Have a good night, everybody. Julia, did you receive my email?
One moment. I had my email closed in the. Yes, I have.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Be well.
Same to you. Good night.
Good night.